ලොව විහිදා සුදු පැහැ සඳ රැසිව් සැදී දින නොමදා සිරි සඟ මුක් සැප නිසැදී ලද මුනිදා දම් කඳ පහස මන බැඳී වදු දලදා හිමි තෙමහල් පහය රැඳී
ඔබ සැමට උතුම් දළදා සමිඳුන්ගේ ආශිර්වාද ප්‍රාර්ථනා කරනවා. උතුම් වාමශ්‍රී දළදා හාමුදුරන් විශේෂී වාර්ෂිකව පවත්වන ප්‍රධානතම පූජෝපමංගල්‍ය 4 අතරින් ඉතා වැදගත් පූජෝපහාර මංගල්‍ය වන්නේ ඇසල පෙරහැර පැවැත්වීමයි. ඒ නිසාවෙන් මේ වර්ෂයේ ගෙවුණු දින 5 පුරාවට කුඹල් පෙරහැර පැවැත්වීමෙන් අනතුරුව අද දින පළමු රන්දෝලි පෙරහැර වීදි සංචාර කිරීම සඳහා සියලු කටයුතු සූදානම්. එනිසාවෙන් ඓතිහාසික කඳුරට ඇසල පෙරහැර මහා මංගල්‍යයේ මේ සිරි විසිතුර අපි ඔබට සජීවීව සමීප කරනවා සිංහල දමිළ සහ ඉංග්‍රීසි මාධ්‍යයන් ඔස්සේ PO TV නාලිකා අංක 20 310 සහ ඩයලොග් නාලිකා අංක 20 ඔස්සේ. ඒ නිසාවෙන් අපි ඊටමත් ගෞරවයෙන් ආරාධනා කරනවා නිවසේ රැඳී සිටින ඔබට අපත් සමග එකතු වන්න ඓතිහාසික කඳුරට ඇසල පෙරහැර මහා මංගල්‍යයේ පළමු රන්දෝලි පෙරහැරේ සිරි විසිතුර විද ගැනීමට. ගෝෂි
நன்றி ரோகண. பக்த அடியார்கள் அனைவருக்கும் அன்பு வணக்கம். கண்டி அசல பெரஹராவினுடைய முதல் நாள் ரந்தோலி பெரஹரா வீதி வலம் வந்து கொண்டிருக்கின்றது. கண்டி மாநகரை சூழ்ந்துள்ள அனைவரையும் வருக வருக என வரவேற்பதுடன் இக்காட்சிகளை நேரடியாக காண முடியாதவர்கள் டயலாக் தொலைக்காட்சி 20 PO TV 20310 ஃப்ரீசெட் 2 மற்றும் ஸ்ரீ தலதா மாளிகையினுடைய யூடியூப் ஃபேஸ்புக் பக்கங்களினூடாக இணைந்து கொள்ளலாம். புத்த பெருமானுடைய அருள் அனைவருக்கும் கிடைக்க வேண்டும் என்று பிரார்த்தித்துக் கொள்கின்றோம். எங்களுடன் தொடர்ச்சியாக இணைந்திருங்கள். திஷரி.
Thank you, Goshi. You're witnessing the first Randoli Procession of Kandy Esala Perahera 2025. The sacred streets of Kandy are about to become alive with this Randoli Procession. This invitation is to you all to come and witness this glamorous occasion. But if you're at home, you can still be watching this event by using the following channels. Channel number 310, channel number 20 on PO TV, channel number 20 on Dialog TV, and channel number 2 on FreeZat. And also you can watch the live broadcast of Kandy Esala Perahera 2025 by using the social media platforms of Sri Dalada Maligawa. Stay tuned.
Uthum Dalada Samidu Pitai. We are delighted to welcome you to the special live broadcast of the first Randoli Perahera of the Kandy Esala Perahera 2025, brought to you by the Media and Special Projects Bureau of the Sri Dalada Maligawa Kandy.
You are now seeing the Perhara officials obtaining the permissions and the blessings of the Devarna Nilame, the lay custodian of the sacred tooth relic, before commencing their street perambulations.
This is the handing over of keys by the Devarna Nilame to the officiating bhikkhus. Now, the Devarna Nilame is making his way from the upper level or the Ihalamalaya to the lower level of the chamber known as the Pathamalaya of the Vedasitina Maligaya, and he is seen ceremoniously and reverentially carrying the Perhara casket under the protection of the custodian venerating prelate of the Malwatu Mahaviharaya, Venerable Tibbatuave Sri Medankarabhidana Theru, towards the ceremonial Tusker under much veneration, amidst the offering of light, sounds, scents and flowers, all the way to the upper chamber until it is placed on the awaiting Tusker. We now see the Perhara casket, which contains 32 relics of Lord Buddha, being placed within the Ranhili gate that is mounted on the lavishly costumed Tusker, who will uplift the majesty of this great procession.
These officials are seen offering flowers and floral garland to the Perhara casket, and this is the first Randoli Perahera of Kandy Esala Perahera 2025.
This is the devout moment when the royal Tusker shall step majestically down from the Mahavahalkada, the main entrance, onto the Sandagala, the moonstone, amidst the tune of traditional Nagasingha music, in preparation to parade the streets of the Kandian city. On this year 2025, we are witnessing the 1715th Perhara that had begun during the reign of King Kirtishri Meghavarna, who pledged that the relics must be carried around the city once a year. And this tradition still continues, followed by the succession of many ruling kings, prime ministers and presidents of our country.
Walking up front with the sound of thundering whips, piercing through the skies are the whip crackers, announcing that the procession has commenced. And these whip masters are tasked with clearing the way for the sacred relic casket and the king.
When looking back at the ancient times, it was the ruling king who would parade the streets in the Perhara. But now it is the Diyavada Nilame, the lay custodian of the sacred relic of Lord Buddha, who will resemble the king in the modern day Perhara.
Nilesh, the Perhara is believed to be held in prayer for timely rainfall, and the elements of the Perhara is structured in a symbolical way that it paints the imagery of a rainfall.
In fact, rain would never be showered without the striking sound of thunder, and these whip wielders are the symbolic imagery to depict the sound of lightning and thunder to pay homage to the rain gods, requesting to bless our crops and cultivations with rain.
The whipmaster's duty is handed down from generation to generation of their clans, and only those who have mastered the art of whip cracking will be taken to participate in the Kandy Esala Perahera. According to traditions, a Perhara which does not have this pedigree are not even being called such.
And this troop of whip wielders are led by Mr. Upali Jayaratna.
An ancient poem translated from the book Sangarajavata recites that the story of the Kandy Esala Perahera as follows. The kingdom of Senkadagala, the procession of the month of Esala, held from times ago in favor of the gods above, led by grace of the Buddha, followed by the deities. The Perahera shall perambulate just as the king commemorate.
The format of the Kandy Esala Perahera consists of 5 days of internal Perhara festivals in the Devala premises after the Kapsitwima. This is followed with the 5 different Kumbal Peraharas which we witnessed in the past 5 days. And starting from today, we will be seeing the Randoli Perahera, which is a procession that is much grander and longer than the Kumbal Peraharas which we noticed in the past 5 days.
Rain does not come with thunder alone. Just as the lightning flashes across the skies, the procession too has its flashes of light, dancing across the faces of the people lining the streets to watch. These are the fire dancers who are offering fire, inviting the rain gods to water our lands with rain.
Even though it seems very paradox to learn that we offer fire to seek for water, this phenomenon of nature is magnificently depicted by this group of fireball dancers, who will perform this thrilling stunt of acrobatics while illustrating how lightning comes with the rain.
The fireball dance is performed in 3 levels that are known as the Bintalaya low level, Madatalaya mid level, and the Ahastalaya the sky level. That is definitely the highlighted episode of the fireball dance, that is performed standing on each other in great discipline and balance.
Back in history, Kandian performing arts have been classified into 5 variants which were known as the Wahala Ilangama, Singakkare Ilangama, Tambara Pittukkare Ilangama, Natum Ilangama and the Kavikaram. Interestingly, it was the king's order that all 5 of these classifications must be performed in the Perhara, which is a royal order that is still being obeyed since the times of the ancient kings till the modern days.
The sun, moon, earth, universe, solar month, night and day are all cyclic, and the fireball dance highlight these universal cycles while depicting how they burn and cool us in our life cycles. The dancers also paint the fierce cycle of samsara, that is flooded with desire, ignorance and anger that are the highlighted by the chakras. The splendor of the dance is seen when a large group of them perform simultaneously, merging their various fierce elements into an amazing display of light and heat. The tradition is handed down from generation to generation, with the individuals of all ages, from the very young to the very old, taking part in the display of the priceless and cultural heritage of Sri Lanka. The dancers are seen creating their paintings of the fire across the night sky as they move in the procession. For the children, it is a fire play, but for the experienced elders, it is a devout and committed fire offering.
Next in line of the procession are the Buddhist flag bearers, who are clad in white national costumes and carrying the most respected flag of Buddhism, while being preceded by the national flag of Sri Lanka. The sight of these Buddhist flags create a sense of tranquility among the spectators, reminding us the fact that this procession is in celebration, devotion, and an offering to the great Lord Buddha.
Nilesh, a priority of the Kandy Esala Perahera is to reflect the unity of Sri Lanka as a nation, which in here is symbolized by the national flag that was leading the army of these flags.
The Buddhist flag, on the other hand, is a symbol of faith and peace. The 6 colors of the flag represent the colors of the aura that emanated from the body of Lord Buddha when he attained enlightenment under the sacred Bodhi tree. The horizontal strips represent the races of the world living in harmony, while the vertical strips represent eternal world peace.
The colors displayed in the Buddhist flag represent the perfection of Buddhahood and the Dhamma. The symbolic identities of these colors are illustrated as blue for universal compassion, yellow for the middle path, red for the blessings, white for purity and liberation, and orange for the unshakable wisdom.
The white-clad flag bearers remind the people of the way that the Dhamma impacted in their lives from the day the sacred tooth relic was brought to the island, and also the calm atmosphere symbolically portrays the way to end this life of samsara. And these Buddhist flag bearers are being represented by the inmates of the Pallekele open prison camp in Kandy. This unique collection of flags in front of us is known as the provincial flags. These include the uniquely designed flags of the 12 states and 9 counties that were under the rule of the ancient Kandyan kingdom. It was the tradition that the respective chieftain of the state, known as the Ralla, would participate in the Perhara with their respective flag that is unique to their state to showcase their loyalty towards the king. While this traditional display reminds us on the glory and sovereignty of the ancient Senkadakala kingdom, it also represents the symbol of governance in compliance to the 10 great leadership qualities preached by Lord Buddha, known as the Dasaraja Dharma. And these state flag bearers are also represented by the inmates of the Pallekele open prison camp in Kandy. The same flags which we saw previously are now being displayed in metallic form, and these are the brass flag bearers who remind us of the proud heritage of the Kandian era, and this team is represented by Mr. Ajit Mahendra.
These brass stands are metallic representations of the flags belonging to the 9 ancient states and the 12 counties, using the exact same elements that are carved with great precision and attention, which are even very precise. The army of officials who are carrying these stands are dressed in a white sarong and a turban with a bare upper body, which interestingly symbolizes the energetic lifestyle of our people back in the ancient times.
We can be proud that this traditional artistry is still being carried out even after decades in the exact same villages of Kalasirigama and Kalapura that are in the era of the Gadaladiniya in the Udunura county that is still famous for its engravings and architecture.
The sight we see in front of us was exactly what the kings wanted to present, to symbolize the unity of the nation, the strength and the sustainability of the kingdom.
Walking in great discipline in their calm and disciplined nature are the army of swordbearers who provide protection to the Perhara Casket, and this team is represented by the Angampura team of the Sri Lanka Air Force.
Clad in the white sarong and with a headdress, the army is seen carrying the race swords, not in warfare, but in a disciplined walk of calm serenity. The symbolic idea of the swordbearers is the historic protection that is provided with the utmost might to the sacred tooth relic. For those who know about the history of the sacred tooth relic would be patriotically proud of our history and the heroic personalities who have always protected the sacred tooth relic.
We now see the most magnificent sight of the Perhara, which is the arrival of the very first elephant who will be carrying the Peramune Ralla. It is the norm of the Perhara that the Peramune Ralla, or the front runner of the procession, is the first person on elephant back, and neither officials nor elephants are permitted to parade before the Peramune Ralla. And this evening, the Peramune Ralla will be carried by the most majestic elephant Banda belonging to the Honourable Diyavadana Nilame of the Sri Dalada Maligawa, Honourable Pradeep Nilanga Dela.
Clad in the traditional white costume that comprises of the white jacket and the triangular hat, the Peramune Ralla comes into the view carrying the secretarial scroll known as the Lekam Meteor.
This elephant Banda was gifted in the year 1979 by the previous existing governments and is currently under the ownership of the current Diyavadana Nilame, Pradeep Nilanga Dela. In fact, Banda is one of the senior and most disciplined participants of the Perhara, which qualifies him to lead the procession in this first Randoli Perahera. A great measure to check a discipline of an elephant is the stance it takes when it walks in the Perhara, and you can notice how Banda folds his trunk majestically to symbolize his disciplined behavior throughout this entire Perhara which he shall perambulate in. This is the arrival of the very first Heavisi troupe that represents the official musical ensemble who are permanently seconded to the service of the Sri Dalada Maligawa.
They perform in a dignified presence in front of the procession as a tradition which they have practiced with majestic skills. In fact, no Panchaturiya Vadana or traditional orchestras of Sinhalese music that produce sounds using either drums or other musical instruments is permitted before Heavisi.
Sri Lanka is rich with its own genres of traditional music, and Hevisi, which is dignified as the authentic sound of Sri Lanka. The history of Hevisi takes us back to the time when the sapling of the Jayashri Maha Bodhi tree was brought down to Sri Lanka by Sangamitha Theredi, and this evidence marks the fact that Hevisi is the oldest traditional orchestra and Buddhist sound offering in Sri Lankan heritage.
Hevisi, as the most prominent orchestras of the fivefold musical instruments, too has its own variants that are authentic to various parts of the country, known as Upcountry, Low Country, and Sabaragamur. The speciality of Kandy Esala Perahera is the pure dominance of upcountry traditional arts. Wherefore, this particular Hevisi instrumental performance belongs to the upcountry tradition of Hevisi, which is known as Udarata Hevisi in Sinhalese. The musicianship of Hevisi in the Kandy Esala Perahera and for the daily rituals of the Sri Dalada Maligawa are assigned to the most skilled lineages of Hevisi drummers, Uduvela, Iyalavela, Malagamana and Mulagoda. Those were the lineages who represent the Hevisi troop in the first rows while marching to the beat of the drums. Apart from those key lineages, we also see the presence of other Hevisi troops in this Perhara, representing Walletota, Moradanda, Hevavissa, Kahalla and Udupihilla. Riding on the second elephant with dignified majesty is the Gajanayake of the Sri Dalada Maligawa. And this evening the Gajanayake is riding on the mount of the Tusker Raja belonging to Venerable Alutnuwara Anuruddha Thero, the chief incumbent of the Kotte Rajamahaviharya. The Gajanayake is the royal official in charge of the king's troop of elephants, and it is a position given to him directly by the king himself. We are now seeing the Kothalapadya dance troupe that is represented this evening by the artist Nalin Jayasekara of the Sri Dalada Maligawa dance troupe. Kothalapadya is one of the most gentle dance performances of the upcountry tradition of dance, which is traditionally a dance of purity. The dancers carry a pot of saffron water on one hand and an areca nut flower on the other hand, and this dance symbolizes purifying the route in which the sacred tooth relic casket will be carried. The Kotalapadaya is in fact a ritualistic dance that is performed in the healing rituals or Shanti Karma across upcountry, low country and Sabaragama traditions. And here we are seeing the upcountry version of the Kotalapadaya, which originates from the Kohumbakankarya healing ritual.
The third Tusker of this evening's first Randoli Perahera is the Tusker Janaraja, belonging to the Sri Dalada Maligawa stable of elephants. And on the mount of Janaraja, we see an official carrying a Buddhist flag to symbolize the fact that this is truly a Buddhist-oriented festival. Janaraja is a Tusker who was gifted to the Sri Dalada Maligawa in the year 1985 by the former President of Sri Lanka, Mr. J.R. Jayawardena. Following Janaraja, we are now seeing the Pulmal dance performance, represented by Mr. W. M. Dayananda.
The Malpadaya dance, which is also known as the Pulmal Malhatpadaya, is also a ritualistic dance performance that has its own variants across the tradition of upcountry, low country and Sabaragamu. And this act is of course the upcountry tradition that originates from the Kohumbakankarya healing ritual.
The Pulmala, or the coconut flower, is the flower that blooms from the traditional kapruka, or the national tree of bounty, which denotes prosperity. In fact, the national emblem of Sri Lanka too consists of a vase of coconut flowers known as the Punkalasa, that is considered as the national symbol of prosperity. The Malpadaya dance consists of dancers who hold this Pulmala, the traditional and the national symbol of prosperity, with both hands, while sincerely representing the same bounty and abundance in their dance. Following this dance performance, we are now seeing two elephants, both coming all the way to Kandy from the city of Ratnapura. On their mounts, we see officials carrying Siamese flags to symbolize the relationship between Thailand and Sri Lanka in Buddhist culture. And these two elephants are On one side, the elephant Kandula Tissa, belonging to the Ratnapura Mahasaman Devalia, and on the other side, the elephant Sankaraja, belonging to the Sankapala Rajamavihare of Ambilipitiya in Ratnapura. This evening, the Perhara commenced at the auspicious hour of 6:52 p.m., heading the auspicious direction of east, and shall parade down the Dalada Vidya, the D.S. Senanayaka Vidya, the Temple Street, Deva Vidya, Kolamba Vidya, Kotogodella Vidya, Haras Vidya, and conclude ascending the Raja Vidya. The next dance performance we are seeing is the Chamara dance troupe represented by Mr. Nimesh Sumanaratna of the Chandananda Buddhist College.
The ancient poetic anthology that was written during the kingdom of Kotin, that is famously known as the Salini Sandesha, quotes that the white tussles in motion, along with the majestic elephants, are one of the supreme sights of auspicious virtualities, and the Chamara dance is certainly an inclusion to add more auspicious value to this Perhara.
Chamara is a popular upcountry folk dance that is one of the most visually mesmerizing dance acts of the Perhara this evening. The Chamara is a white tussled object that was used historically as a fanning tool to the sacred tooth relic, sacred requilleries, and prominent individuals include the royalties. The tussles are fanned to the rhythm of the flute and the Kandian drums, where the gentle cool breeze
that is produced by these charmerer brings a very pleasant feel. This was in fact a regular feature of the royal courts in our ancient times.
We see the next duo of elephants representing the Dalada Perahera. On one side, the most magnificent elephant Salia, belonging to Venerable Urlavatte Sri Dhammarakkhita Thero, the chief incumbent of the Mahiyangana Rajamahaviharaya. Accompanying Salia is the elephant Taraka, belonging to Mr. Kularatna Vijetunga, the chief incumbent of the Kaduvela Sri Siddharankadu Pattini Devalia. In fact, Salia and Taraka are two of the most majestic elephants and among the tallest living domestic elephants in Sri Lanka, walking next to each other in each other's company. We now see the Nayandi dance performance, represented by the artist Mr. Saman Nilvitha.
The Nayandi dance is one of the most significant dance performances of the upcountry dancing tradition that holds a very prominent position in the Kandy Esala Perahera, especially during the Kumbal Perhara festivities. The word Nayandi is in fact the name of the costume that is worn by these Nayandi dancers, which is the same costume that is worn by the Kandyan West dancers, with the exclusion of the devoted headdress that is replaced with a cloth turban with a knot on the head center that is taking the shape of a cobra.
Nayandi dance troupe is followed by the next duo of elephants who shall add glamour to the Perhara. On the right, we see the elephant Vijitaraja, belonging to Venerable Dimulagala Rahula Lankara Thero, the chief incumbent of the Dimulagala Forest Monastery. Accompanying Vijitaraja is the elephant Kandulavira, belonging to Venerable Kanangama Narada Thero, the chief incumbent of the Kaduvela Sankapitti Vihara. A common feature that I can notice between Vijitaraja and Kandulavira is the unmatched discipline that they have in this Perhara, which you can notice in comparison to the other elephants who we shall witness further. Coming up next is the Roban Krida, or the Roban spinning dance item, represented by the team of the late Mr. Aryapala Vijayamanna. The rabana, or the hand tambourine, is a very popular object used in the folk dancing tradition in Sri Lanka. But this is no such dance, even though we see the presence of the tambourine in play. This performance involves a spinning of the tambourine, which makes it more of a sporting performance than a dance item. And that is why this act is known as Roban Karakavima or Roban Krida in Sinhalese.
There are many forms of Rabang in Sri Lanka. We have the Maharabana or the Banku Rabana, which is a large drum that is played by multiple artists at the same time, and the Virindu Rabana that is played while singing comical verses of Virindu, and the Atrabana, which we see now, that is prominently seen in dance related to these magnificent Perhara. We also hear a version of the Karakavima Rabana, or the spinning tambourine, which is in fact the same Atrabana with a dent curve in its middle.
The spinning game of Roban can be identified as a developed performance of the Roban dance. We see several generations of artists who are of different age levels taking part in this particular item. Following that, we see the next elephant of the Perhara. This elephant is Muthubanda, belonging to Venerable Murundeniye Dhammaratana Thero, the chief incumbent of the historic Muthiyangana Rajamahawihara of Badul. On the Mount of Muthu, we see two officials carrying brass canopies, symbolizing protection to the impending relic casket. Muthubanda is the elephant gifted to the historic Muthiyangana Rajamahawihara, which is interestingly a temple which Lord Buddha has visited himself during his visit to Sri Lanka, where Muthubanda was gifted to the temple in the year 1990. Following Muthubanda, we now see the thumb at thumb instrumentalists, represented by Mr. Sujitananda.
Tammatama, also known as the Pokurubere in Sinhalese and the kettle drum in English, is a vital instrument of the Hevisi ensemble that takes a predominant position in Perhara, as this is the main sound offering towards the impending requeries of worship. However, this act celebrates the Tammatama as an individual performance, excluding any other musical instruments which we saw in the earlier Hevisi tour.
The amazing feature about this Tammatama performance is that we see both playing and dancing with the Tammatama, which is evidently why it is recognized as the Tammatama Netuna or the Tammatama dance. This is truly the fascinating beauty of Sri Lankan performing arts, where our artists are gifted with the talent of making more than what is expected of what we are blessed with. Following the troupe of Tammatama dancers, we see two beautiful elephants representing two of the most prominent temples in Colombo. On one side, we see the elephant Ganga belonging to Venerable Kirindeyasaji Thero, the chief incumbent of the Gangarama Vihara in Colombo too, and the elephant Devmini belonging to Venerable Boralande Vajranyana Thero, the chief incumbent of the Sambodhi Vihara of Colombo 7. Next, we are seeing the mixed folk dance that is represented by Mr. PCB Vijay Surya.
Traditional dancing in Sri Lanka is segregated into two main types, which are the Shastriya Nattu or the dance performances that are based on the healing rituals, and the other being Gami Nattu or folk dance performances. The dance that we see now is a remarkable fusion of not just one, but 4 different folk dance performances being danced simultaneously in the same spotlight.
Here we see the dance artists presenting 4 different folk dances, which are the Thalampata, the Likeli, the Rabang and the Savarang, which we would see being performed as an individual dance items across the 5 segments of this majestic Perhara. And this dance act is certainly a snapshot of the beauty of Sri Lankan folk culture.
Folk dancing is also known as Jananatu or Gaminatu, which are the dance items that represent the culture of the native village. These dance acts have no ritualistic regulations that needs to be strictly adhered. in comparison to the Shastriya Natumats. In fact, there is a lot of space left for creativity in designing the choreograph, costumes, tones, and other elements of attraction. And at the same time, keeping in mind not to harm the authenticity of the dance as how it was passed down upon the generations.
This dance is presented as one team, but we could carefully observe how they break themselves into sub-teams among themselves based on their designated dance. It is true that it is the same music that is being played for the whole group, but this nature and this music plays the tune for 4 different dance acts that involve 4 different props and 4 different steps of dance, which are being carefully presented to maintain their cultural identity. We now see the arrival of Burmese flags to symbolize the Buddhist relationship between the countries of Sri Lanka and Myanmar in this Kandy Esala Perahera on the mounts of these 2 elephants who are great friends with each other. The elephant Punchibanda belonging to Mrs. Vijayanthi Perera of Horana and the elephant Raja belonging to Mrs. Sita Mallava of Hettimulla Kegol. Next we are seeing the Udaki dance performance. And the Udaki dance performance is represented by Mr. M.B. Tennakon.
Traditional musical instruments of Sri Lanka are sometimes not just for playing itself, just like the Udaki that we see here in this dance performance. We do not just see these performers playing the Udaki, but they also perform a dance. Interestingly, do sing at the same time, which makes the Udaki dance an act as a triple fusion of art. The Udaki is an hourglass-shaped hand drum that belongs to the Arthata category of Panchaturyanada.
This is the Tusker Sindhu, belonging to Venerable Tibbatuave Sri Siddhartha Subangala Thero, the most venerable Mahanayaka Thero of the Malwatu Mahaviharaya. And on the mount of this Tusker Sindhu we see a canopy symbolizing protection to the impending relic casket. This is the Panteu troupe of dance, represented by the artist Mr. Sarath Vijayasiri of the Upcountry Dance faculty.
The Panteu is a musical instrument that is used as a rhythm tool across all the three traditions of upcountry, low country and Sabaragamu. But the Panteu dance is exclusively belonging to the Udarata or the upcountry tradition of dance. Since the 18th century, the instrument was used for the development of semi-classical dance form, which is an art that was passed down from generation to generation. The dance is classified as a Gananatuma as per the theory of Panchaturyanada. Since the Panteu is an instrument belonging to the Gana classification, as it needs to be dashed in order to be
Following the Panteu dance troupe, we are seeing a majestic trio of not elephants but tuskers, And interestingly, all three of these Tuskers are Sri Lankan Tuskers, to be precise. In the middle, we see the most senior Tusker of Sri Lanka, the great Vasana, the chief Tusker of the Ruhurumaha Kataragama Devalia in Kataragama. This senior Tusker Vasana is accompanied by his fellow Sri Lankan Tuskers, Singharaja belonging to the Sri Dalada Maligawa and Raju belonging to the most venerable Mahanayaka Thero of the Asgiriya chapter, Venerable Varakagwada Sri Jnanaratana Thero. We have finally reached the pinnacle of the Dalada Perahera this evening, the arrival of the royal trio of Tuskers who shall be carrying the Perhara Relic Casket. And this trio of royal Tuskers will be escorted by the majestic West Dance of the upcountry tradition. And this troupe of West dancing will be represented by Mr. Ishanta Ihalavela and Mr. Lasantha Vansekara.
The most unique and most recognized presentation of the Kandian dancing heritage is the most fully adorned West Natua or the Kandian West Dancer. The Kandian dancer's skill and dance form have been considered as an authentic expression of Sri Lankan culture.
In fact, it is this icon of the West dancer who is the branding identity of traditional Sri Lankan dancing across the seven seas, despite the presence of many artistic dance performances that are authentic to traditional Sri Lankan dance. It is amazing to hear that this is the same picture that is illustrated on anyone's mind when they hear the phrase Sri Lankan dance, which we could certainly be proud of as Kandians. The West dance is more than just a ritual. It is a sacred recitation for the protection against misfortune. Therefore, the costume of these dancers are also considered sacred. This most glamorous costume symbolically presents the regalia of the King Malaya, the royalty who performed the ancient ritual of Hatapas Mangalaya, which is a healing ritual that was held 2500 years ago. It was in the 4th century before Christ when the first ever Hatapas Mangalaya was performed in Sri Lanka by the Malaya king to cure a dividos, or a godly curse, that had been bestowed upon King Padwas Deva. dressed in the white Tupottiya costume, is the Karya Karavana Korala, the royal official who holds responsibility for all engagements in regard to the offerings, the Perhara and the Relic Casket. The very special orchestra we see here is Nagasingham, which is an Indian-influenced ensemble of music that plays its authentic music to escort the Relic Casket as part of the traditions that were conducted in Lord Buddha's origin country in India, added during the time of King Veera Parakrama Narendra Singha. We now see the most awaited and most devout moment of the Perhara as we see the approach of the royal Tusker ceremoniously carrying the Perhara Relic Casket, guarded by the Dalada elephants, sprinkled by jasmine flowers and officiated by the royalties. This evening, the Perhara Relic Casket is carried by the lead Tusker of the Sri Dalada Maligawa, the great Indiraja. Indiraja is accompanied by the Tuskers Burumaraja and Pulatisi Raja of the Sri Dalada Maligawa. This is the chamber of versifiers or the Kavikaram, the group of poets who walk behind the relic casket while singing the virtues of Lord Buddha. These versifiers are holding several instruments, including the Panteu and the Udaki. And the speciality of the Kavikaram is that these versifiers shall only perform when the relic casket is taken out of the relic chamber, and shall sing till it is reverentially placed back after the Perhara. This too is in fact an offering of King Veera Parakrama Narendra Singha to the sacred tooth relic.
Following the most sacred moment of this Perhara, we see the clan of devotees holding flowers and lamps that symbolize an offering to the relic casket. The youth we see in this occasion are dressed in the most modest costume that we shall ever see in this Perhara, a plain white robe that illustrates the simplicity and the modest behavior that is expected out of a true Buddhist, which is even highlighted in the most gentle walk that we see out of these devotees. There are several forms of offering that Sri Lankan Buddhists pledge as puja towards the Buddha, and one of its prominent offering are flowers and incense sticks, which are offering of fragrance to Lord Buddha, and oil lamps which offer light. We see both flowers and lamps in the hands of these devotees, which interpret this episode of Perhara as an offering of fragrance and light towards the sacred relic casket. This clan of devotees are represented in this evening's Perhara by Mr. Samantha Pereira.
The most revealing narration of the Kandy Esala Perahera is found in the book written by the Chinese pilgrim Fa Hien in the 5th century. The sporadic invasions by the Dravidians resulted in the shift of the kingdom from Anuradhapura to several destinations: Polonnaruwa, Dambadeniya, Yapahuwa, Kurunegala, Kotte and Gampala. With the final shift of the kingdom to this great city of Kandy, the relics have remained undisturbed, and thereby the Kandy Esala Perahera has been held annually to rejoice and honor the sacred tooth relic. The second most iconic moment of the Perhara is the arrival of the Diyavadana Nilame, and the Diyavadana Nilame will be escorted by these West dancing troupe, represented by the artists Sanjeeva Verapitiya and Mr. Peter Surasena.
According to history, Queni was a prince of the Yaksha tribute in Sri Lanka, who became the wife of King Vijaya upon his arrival to Sri Lanka. Being the first young woman lady who he witnessed just after discovering this copper-sanded island of Sri Lanka. Unfortunately, it is sad the incident when Queni was betrayed by the King Vijaya, which led her to the devastated Queni, who was left out with both her children. Being frustrated with pressure, Queni cursed King Vijaya and his descendants, which ultimately affected King Panduvasdeva, who was a relative of King Vijaya.
We now see the lay custodian of the Sri Dalada Maligawa, the 19th Diyavadana Nilame, Honorable Pradeep Nilangadala, who walks with utmost pride and majesty while bringing in a true sense of ancient royalty to this Perhara. The Diyavadana Nilame is the royal official who granted water to the kings in history and now is designated as the lay protector of the sacred tooth relic of Lord Buddha, which makes him one of the truly respected lay leaders in Buddhism in Sri Lanka. The Diyavad Nilame shall walk under the Mutukudel or the pearl umbrella, surrounded by his army of guards, followed by the Vidani or the chieftains associated with the 10 villages of the Sri Dalada Maligawa.
Now we are witnessing the commencement of the Sri Mahanatha Devalia procession. The first item in the procession of Sri Mahanatha Devalia is the Buddhist flags represented by the Pallekele Civil Defence Authority. The Sri Mahanatha Devalia in Kandy is located in front of the Sri Dalada Maligawa, where it is considered as the main shrine that is dedicated towards Lord Natha, and one of the oldest buildings in Kandy that was built even before the Sri Dalada Maligawa. The procession of Natha Devalia is the first to follow the Dalada Perahera due to the belief that God Natha is next in line to attain Buddhahood. And with that, we see the entrance of the heavy troop of the Sri Mahanatha Devalia procession.
The heavy troop of the Sri Mahanatha Devalia is represented by Mr. S.Y.G. Vijay Singh.
fascinating to know how all these blend of these instruments individually contribute to the symphonic sound of the overall ensemble. When musically analyzing the instruments on its own, we see that the dowler is used to create a deep echoing sound. The thumb-matam, on the other hand, creates a noise that is heard to a far distance, while the horanava creates a high-pitched wind noise, and all of these put together creates the iconic symphony that covers the heritage of the Sri Lankan culture.
This is the first elephant of the Sri Mahanatha Devala procession in the first Randoli Perahera, who is Arjuna, belonging to Venerable Karatota Pannasiya Thero, the chief incumbent of the Vaurukannala Budu Rajamavihari of Buddhist. The first person on elephant back of the Sri Mahanatha Devala Perahera will be carrying a flag representing Ravana, an ancient leader of Sri Lanka. Following Arjuna, we are now seeing the Lekili dance performance trained by Mr. Upali Dharmaratna.
Lekili is another interesting folk dance of the upcountry tradition that consists of performers having two wooden sticks on their hands, who shall dash them together in a rhythmical way, individually and even among pairs or at times groups. Being a folk dance itself, this dance too sets a village picture for the audience, but the origin of the exact movements performed can be guessed at the ancient practices for war battles among the folk lifestyle.
This is the Gajanayake of the Sri Mahanatha Devalia. It is the format of the Randoli Peraheras that the Gajanayake of the Devalayas shall also join. This Gajanayake is on the mount of the elephant Kandula belonging to Mr. Dhammika Samarakodi of Maharagama. Following Kandula, we are now seeing the Panteu dance performance of the Sri Mahanatha Devalia in Kandy. And I believe this dance is represented by Mr. Dilshan Shalika.
The Panteu has a circumference of 28 inches and 5 mini cymbals attached along its rings. The tradition behind the Panteu describes 5 ways in which the Panteu should be held by the dancer. And we too could carefully notice how the performers change their hands in between the dance moves, perform in circles, perform stunt flips, and many more thrilling episodes to captivate the attention of the onlookers. The premises of Sri Mahanatha Devalia in Kandy is recognized since Jai Bhumiya, or the land with luck, since the time of our ancestors, based on the indication by an ancient Brahmin named Senkada. According to the legend, this sage Senkada had once visited this land and had witnessed a hare being chased by a pack of wolves, and within a flick of a moment, the hare had managed to chase the entire pack of wolves by itself, just as it entered this land of luck. Interestingly, it was because of the same Brahmin that involved the name of Senkadagala to the city of Kandy. And with that we see the entrance of the Savarang dance group of the Natha Devalia procession.
And this troupe of Savarang too is trained by Mr. Dilshan Shalika.
The suit tune of that is blown using the flute is very mesmerizing to the ear, and the tunes we hear from these flutes are in fact special poems that are exclusively written for the Savarang dance, which are known as Savarang Kavi.
The third elephant of the Sri Mahanatha Esala Perahera is Sumana, belonging to Venerable Borlandi Vajranana Theru, the chief incumbent of the Sambodhi Vihara in Colombo. Next we are seeing the Thammatam dance performance that is represented by Mr. Jagat of the Ridhigama Asuranada dance troupe.
The amazing feature about this Thammattam performance is that we see both playing and dancing with the Thammattama, which is evidently why it is recognized as the Thammattam Natuma or the Thammattam dance. This is truly the fascinating beauty of Sri Lankan performing arts, where artists are gifted with the talent of making more than what is expected and of what we are blessed with. An amazing fact behind the Sri Mahanatha Devalia is that it was a sacred site which was used for the naming and crowning of the new kings during the ancient Kandyan era. The inheritors of the crown would customarily visit Vishnu Devalia first and then arrive at the Sri Mahanatha Devalia to pick their favored names as the king among the golden plates and then be crowned amidst all worship and respect.
This is the Roban dance troupe, trained and represented by Mr. Anjana Gamage.
According to the legends of God Natha, the well-known fact behind God Natha is the belief that he is next in line to attain Buddhahood as Maitri Bodhisattva, where he is also identified as the Avalokiteshvara in the Indian cults. The iconography of God Natha is also known as a gentle young man of fair complexion who holds a lotus flower on his left hand. He is in fact famed as one of the most dominant gods associated in the hill country.
This is the elephant Sudu Mahathya, belonging to Mr. Thilina Gamage of Maharagama. You could have noticed how the color yellow is being used in the costumes of all of these majestic elephants walking with pride in this first Randoli Perahera, where in the Kumbal Peraharas we noticed the costumes of white being used even in the procession of God Natha.
And with that, we see the entrance of the first Nayandi dance troupe of the god Natha's procession.
And this troupe of Nayandi is represented by Mr. Indika Pradeep Velikobura.
The speciality of Nayandi dancing is that this dance is primarily performed by the primitive Kandyan dance artists who have not yet been attained reverentially as a West dancer. And any dance artist who aspires to be crowned as a Kandyan West dancer would first need to master the skill of a Nayandi dance in order to proceed.
You are joining with the live broadcast of the first Randoli Perahera of the Kandy Esala Perahera Festival 2025, brought to you by the Media and Special Projects Bureau of the Sri Dalada Maligawa Kandy. This is the Udaki dance performance, represented this time by Mr. Dhammika Pinnacle.
Sri Lankan tradition of music introduces 64 different types of drums, and the Udaki, what we see now, is considered as the smallest traditional drum that we find in Sri Lanka. It is in fact used as a musical instrument in healing rituals across all the three dance traditions of Sri Lanka. We have just arrived in the most awaited moment in the Sri Mahanatha Devala Perhara, which is the arrival of the ceremonial trio of elephants carrying the requilleries of Lord Natha. And for the first time,
we are seeing the inclusion of West dancing in the Devala Perahera, which we did not notice in the Kumbal Perahera festivities over the past few days. And this time, the troupe of West dancers, represented by Mr. Vishuddhi Verapatia, will be welcoming the ceremonial elephant and his accompanys, carrying the godly ornaments of Lord Natha.
According to the legends, the curse that Kueni gave to King Vijaya is known as Devidos, was not cured of King Pandua's Deva, for which he invited the Malay kings from India to perform the healing ritual named Hatapas Mangalya to dispel this curse successfully, which indeed produced its divine results. The Malay king had instructed to continue the Hatapas Mangalya to be performed.
Dressed in white is the chief trustee of the Sri Mahanatha Devalia in Kandy, who shall walk in front of these ceremonial elephants. And this evening, the ceremonial Tusker carrying the godly ornaments of Lord Natha is none other than the great elephant Rohana, belonging to Mr. Varuna Kannanga of Horana. Rohana is accompanied by Kandula, belonging to Venerable Devalegama Dhammasena Thero, the chief incumbent of the Tissa Maharama Rajamaha Viharaya, and the elephant Kueni, belonging to Mr. Mahinda Millanguda of Kegol.
And this is the magnificent side of the Senkadagala kingdom on the first Randoli procession.
Just as similar to the Dalada Perahera, the next highlight of the Sri Mahanatha Devala Perahera is the arrival of the Basnayaka Nilame. And to welcome and pave the way for the Basnayaka Nilame, it is the West Dancers. This troupe of West Dancers are being represented by Mr. Asanka Karunaratna.
Kohomba is now a regional venerated god in Kandy towards the area of Hanthana, which is believed as one of the locations which experienced the true incidents behind the Hatapas Mangalya. And this healing ritual was then designed as the Kohombakan Karya, which is still performed very popularly in the parts of the country as the healing ritual that is devoted towards God Kohomba, and God Kande Bandara.
This is the arrival of the esteemed Basnayaka Nilame of the Sri Maha Natha Devalia in Kandy. Here we see the current Basnayaka Nilame of the Sri Maha Natha Devalia in Kandy, Honorable A.W.S. Bandaranayaka, who is the Basnayaka Nilame of the Sri Maha Natha Devalia in Kandy and the Sri Ambekke Kataragama Devalia in Pilimatalawa. Basnayaka Nilame shall be walking amidst the protection of Murayuda and under the shelter of the pearl umbrella known as the Mutukudaya. As that marks the end of the procession of the Sri Maha Natha Devalia, let us now witness the first Randoli Perahera of the Sri Maha Vishnu Devalia in Kandy.
The Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya in Kandy, that is predominantly identified as the Mahadevalaya or the Great Shrine, the main shrine in the hill capital that is dedicated to Lord Vishnu among the Satara Mahadevalaya in Kandy.
The first item of the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya is the stance of the sun and moon, followed by the flags of the four of the different states and provinces of the ancient rule. It is believed that Lord Vishnu is the protector of Sri Lanka under the command of Lord Buddha, which is why the flags of all these provinces and states are displayed to symbolize the fact that Lord Vishnu is protecting all of these states and provinces in Sri Lanka. The first elephant of the Sri Mahavishnu Devalia is as usual with the official carrying the flag of the Satara Koralaya known as the Sun and Moon flag. And this official is on the mount of the elephant Haritha belonging to Mr. Tusitha Ranavaka of Deniyaya.
The Irahanda Kodiya is believed to be taken from the city of Devinuvara to the city of Alutnuvara. A simple justification on how the sun and the moon flag relate to Lord Vishnu. It is interesting that the communication that Lord Vishnu shall be the protector of Sri Lanka until the existence of the sun and the moon. And this is the first heavy troop of the Sri Mahavishnu Devalia procession. The Sri Mahavishnu Devalia is located northeast to the Sri Dalada Maligawa, which is accessed easily via the Rajavidya and is considered as the most prominent religious site in Kandy, that is only seconded to the Sri Dalada Maligawa.
This troop of Hevisi is represented in the Alutnuvara sub-tradition of upcountry Hevisi by the artist Saman Priyantha Arambegidara of Alutnuvara.
The Hevisi troop of Sri Mahavishnu Devalia is notably special among all of the other Hevisi troops that we see throughout this procession, based on the several importance. As we know, the inaugural ritual of the Kandy Esala Perahera is the Kap Sitavima, or the planting of the jack in the oxy hour, and this piece of jack plant is being cut from the village of Alutnuvara, that is located in the footstep of Kaduganawa, which marks the entrance to the district of Kandy. And the same place is also known for the Alutnuvara Sri Dadimunda Devalia, that is the main shrine in Sri Lanka that is dedicated to Lord Dadimunda.
This is the Gajanayake and Dancers, the royal official in charge of the troop of elephants of the Sri Mahavishnu Devalia. The Gajanayake and Dancers is on the mount of the elephant Suranimala, belonging to the Alutnuvara Sri Dadimunda Devalia.
According to the legend of Lord Vishnu, among the diverse religions and their beliefs that are observed in this island nation of Sri Lanka, Lord Vishnu, is a virtuous god who is popularly being worshipped by both Sri Lankan Hindu and Buddhist devotees. He is known by 108 other names including Hari, Madhava and Narayana, apart from the Sri Lankan recognition as Upulwan.
This is the Panteu dance performance of the Sri Vishnu Devala Perahera. And it is in fact interesting to note that we saw Panteu dance performances across all three Perahera segments that we have seen thus far. And this troupe of Panteu dancers are represented by Mr. K.G. Dandaseli.
Among the many legends behind the evolution of the Panteu, one such story describes how Panteu is in fact the Chakrayudaya, or the Sudarshana Chakra of Lord Vishnu. The illustrated appearance of Lord Vishnu is portrayed as a deity with four arms holding four different objects: the lotus flower, the conch shell, the mace, and the Sudarshana Chakra.
We see a very special flag that is authentic and very special to the Sri Vishnu Devalia. This is the Savarangodiya or the Savarang flag of the Sri Vishnu Devalia. And this is on the mount of the elephant Chuti Manike belonging to Mr. Bharata Amaratunga of Meegoda. In fact, the people of Satarakolya, which is known as the hometown of the Sri Arutnura Dedimunda Devalia, were considered well for their bravery. And a particular king in that reign has given them 5 gifts which are known as the Manyan Paha. And one of those Manyan is, or the gifts, is this particular Savarangodiya which we see. This is the Savarang dance of the Sri Vishnu Devala Perahera, and this team is represented by the generational dance artist Ruanta Gahagoda.
It is believed that the Sri Vishnu Devala in Kandy was built by the king Senarath in between 1604 to 1635, during this time in which the Upulwan Devala in Alutnuvara was destroyed by the Portuguese in amidst of their Kandian invention. And with the rulers of Nayakar clan, who are of origin of Indian, over Sri Lanka, the Upulwan Devalaya was transformed to a Vishnu Devalaya based upon their origins of belief. If you notice a difference between the earlier Savarang dances and this particular Savarang dance in Lord Vishnu's procession, it contains the color of blue predominantly. It is because Lord Vishnu is believed to be dark in skin tone, which is the reason why the illustration of color blue is shown in this particular dance.
Following the Savarang dance, we are seeing a duo of elephants. In fact, the Sri Maha Vishnu Devala Perhara is always known for its duos of elephants. On the left, we see the elephant Kumari belonging to Mr. Kamal Irugal Bandara of Kottava and the elephant Surani belonging to Mr. Deepthi Kumara of Biyagama.
The cooling breeze that blows from the surrounding, from the Udavatta forest on the right and from the Kandy lake on the left, certainly creates the feel of how nature too contributes to this Perhara by displaying its unmatched unique forms of beauty to this Perhara that shall bless our country.
Coming up next is the Udaki dance performance, represented once again by yet another prominent traditional veteran artist, Mr. Kondadeniye Samansiri. In fact, it is in this procession of the Sri Maha Vishnu Devalia in Kandy where we are able to see several generations of traditional dancers. In the previous episode, we saw the Thalgahagoda lineage of dancing, and here we see the Kondadeniya lineage of dancing, and they are representing the Udaki dance performance in the procession of Lord Vishnu in this first Randoli Perahera.
The Udaki Gataya is a very special episode of the Udaki dance performance, where we saw the performers grouping up into subgroups to create a knot out of their drums. And that is fascinating to see how it has been tied and removed in compliance to its dance orientation. We do see the same Udaki drum being played in the Kavikaram or the chamber of versifiers, who walk right behind the royal Tusker carrying the Relic Casket, and they too sing the qualities of great Lord Buddha, whereas in history it used to be glorifying the virtues of the king.
Just as we spoke about veteran dancers, here we see two veteran elephants who are very special to the Sri Mahavishnu Devala Perhara. The elephant Banda belonging to Mr. Sisira Samarakon of Narammala and the elephant Muthu belonging to Mr. Indika Mudunkot of Manikinha Kandy. Here we reach the most spectacular moment of the Sri Mahavishnu Devala Perahera, the impending arrival of the ceremonial Tusker carrying the godly ornaments of Lord Vishnu. And this trio of Tuskers are being welcomed by the West Dance. And this troupe of West dancers are being trained by Mr. Sarath Dekanayaka.
Legends believe that Lord Vishnu is a future Buddha after God Natha, which is the evident reason as to why we see the procession of Sri Mahavishnu Devalia following the procession of Sri Mahanatha Devalia according to the tradition of Kandy Esala Perahera.
We can see the inclusion of Tabburu or another variation of Nagasingham played in the procession of Lord Vishnu, just as similar to the Sri Dalada Maligawa Perhara. Amidst this tune of Indian Nagasingham, we are seeing the chief priest of the Sri Mahavishnu Devala Perhara walking in front of the ceremonial Tusker. This evening, the godly ornaments of Lord Vishnu will be carried by the Tusker Rama, belonging to the late Mr. Tudor Gunasekara of Heyanthudua. Rama is accompanied by the elephant Vasana, belonging to Mrs. Krishanti Alapatha of Ratnapura, and the elephant Rani, belonging to Mr. Deepthi Kumara of Biyagama. This is the second troupe of West dancers that we will be seeing in the procession of Lord Vishnu, and this troupe of West dancers trained by yet again the same artist we saw previously, Mr. Kondadeniya Samansiri, and they are tasked with welcoming the Basnayaka Nilame of the Sri Mahavishnu Devalia in Kandy.
The concept of Trinity in Hinduism, which is also known as Tirumurtiya, consists of three main gods, namely Lord Brahma, the creator of the world, Lord Shiva, who is the destroyer of the world, and Lord Vishnu, who is the preserver of the world. Apart from the Trimurtiya, another similar concept of Hinduism named Smartha involves Lord Vishnu, where the five deities, including Lord Shiva, Lord Sakti, Lord Ganesh, and Lord Surya, and Lord Vishnu himself, which promotes equal faith to all five of these deities.
this evening, the Basnayaka Nilame of the Sri Maha Vishnu Devalia in Kandy will be represented by the Basnayaka Nilame of the Lanka Tilaka Vishnu Devalia, Honorable Priyantha Amunugama. And that marks the end of the Sri Maha Vishnu Devala Perahera as we commence to witness the procession of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devalia, who will be having their first Randoli Perahera this evening. The Sri Maha Kataragama Devala Perahera this evening will be preceded by the troop of Buddhist flag bearers. And in fact, it's not just Buddhist flags, but we can also see peacock flags being represented in this procession. And these flag bearers are represented by the Civil Defence Authority of Pallekele.
The opening representation of Sri Maha Kataragama Devalia Perahera are these unique flag bearers who showcase a different variety of flags. These flag leads a unique way of illustration of King Ravana, who is an ancient king of Sri Lanka, who connects the Indian epic of Ramayana to Sri Lanka. The reason why we see the flag of King Ravana being led ahead in the procession is to communicate a belief that King Ravana is a reincarnation of Lord Kataragama.
This is the first and the official Hedisi troop of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devalia, represented by Mr. P.V. James.
The Sri Maha Kataragama Devalia in Kandy is one of the key places of worship that are dedicated to Lord Kataragama in the city of Senkadagala. And the speciality of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devalia being the only out of the Satara Maha Devalia or four main shrines that is located outside the premises of Sri Dalada Maligawa, as it is located in the Kotugodalla Vidya, which was once known as the Kavikaram Vidya, where the poets of the king had used to reside during the times of royalty.
We are seeing the first elephant of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devalia Perhara this evening, with an official carrying the peacock flag. And this is the elephant Manike, belonging to Mr. Danuka Kempitiya of Kegol.
According to the legend, the peacock who we see as the mount of god Kataragama is in fact a demon who was defeated by Lord Kataragama, who sincerely pledged for mercy from Lord Kataragama and was paired with the promise of serving god Kataragama as his divine mount.
This is the Savarang troupe of dancers, represented by Mr. Suraj Madhushan of the Divyanjali Aesthetic Academy.
An important fact about the Sri Maha Kataragama Devalia is it has been built during the reign of King Narendra Singha, who ruled the country from the year 1707 to year 1739, where it was considered as a personal Devalia shrine to the Kandyan kings for their devotional rituals in order to receive blessings of Lord Kataragama.
This is the Gajanayake and of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devalia in Kandy. He is holding the special ankusir that was once used by King Rajasingha II itself, that is still being preserved and used in the annual Esala Perahera of Kandy. And the Gajanayake and is on the mount of the elephant Suddhi, belonging to Mr. Premasiri Kaluarachi of Habarana. Following Suddhi, we are now seeing the Lee Kelly dance performance that is represented here by Mr. Ruwan Targahagoda.
Lee Kelly is one of the dance performances which has been performed since more than a century ago, which is proved by the evidence that is still visible to all of us. In fact, the wooden carvings of the Ambaka Kataragama Devalia that belongs to the Gampala era portrays a carving that illustrates a Lee Kelly performance. Apart from the Sri Lankan concept of Lee Kelly dance, which we identify as an upcountry folk dance performance, we see much similar versions in other neighboring cultures. And some of them could be identified as Dandiya, which is the main folk dance of Gujarat state in India. The fast tempo that is performed in several episodes of Likeli dance creates a sense of energy that truly creates a battlefield atmosphere, which once again connects the folk dance with the previously told affiliation with war rehearsing.
This is the third elephant of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devalia in Kandy, who is Sita, belonging to Mr. Roshan Samarakodi of Maharagama. Sita is in fact one of the very few lucky female elephants in Sri Lanka who have had the privilege of being a ceremonial character in the Perhara, where once in the year 2014, Sita was in fact the ceremonial elephant of the Sri Maha Pattini Esala Perahera across all 11 days of pageantry. Following that interesting story about Sita, we are now seeing a very beautiful Pathuru dance performance. And this team of Pathuru are being represented by Mr. Hasita Ramanayaka of the Hasita Ramanayaka Aesthetic Academy of Minuwangoda.
Pathuru is an upcountry style folk dance act that is known for its fast tempo when compared to the other folk dance acts that is performed in our country. The dancers hold a set of wooden splinters known as Pathuru on one hand, and they perform to the beat of the upcountry Gatabere drum that melodiously and with the flute while clapping the splinters on various designated parts of the body. The Paturu dance may seem as if it is a singular choreography, but careful attention would show how this dance involves group work, where we see the performers collaborating with each other as a group, and in subgroups that highlight the unity and harmony among the village youth of Sri Lanka.
If one would have closely observed how the tempo of the dances that we witnessed thus far in the Sri Maha Kataragama Devalia Perhara was much different to the other Devalia Peraharas that we witnessed so far, it is just a hint that we are just about to see a total transformation in the entire dance performances that we will be seeing in the Sri Maha Kataragama Devalia Perhara. This is the fourth Panteu dance performance that we will be seeing in the Perhara this evening, and wasn't it interesting that the Panteu dance form that is known to be a very authentic Kandian dance takes part in all of the four Perhara segments that we witnessed so far. And this particular Panteu dance is trained by Mr. Nimesh Nivantaka of the Nimesh Aesthetic Academy.
An important note about shrines that are dedicated to gods are referred to as Kovil and Devalia in general Sinhalese, but it has its differentiations based on the practice culture of traditions. Kovils are usually managed with pure Tamil cultured practices of Hinduism, while Devalayas have a certain degree of Sinhalese Buddhist influence behind them. This Kataragama Devalia in Kandy too practices a variety of Tamil-influenced ritual, such as the annual Theru festival that takes place annually in the month of June, and the chief priest or the Iyer hailing from an original South Indian Brahmanic lineage itself. But the Buddhist affiliation of the shrine is not less, especially with the administration headed by a Sinhalese Basnayaka Nilame and the Buddhist temple that is located within the Devalia premises, and that makes this shrine as a Devalia instead of a traditional Kovil.
She is the elephant Sudumanike, belonging to Mr. Buddhika Miriyalla of Mavanella.
Lord Kataragama, or the god of war, is a divine deity who is worshipped as Skanda or Kartikeya and Muruga in the South Indian tradition. Where Lord Kataragama is considered as one of the most powerful deities, who has an appearance of 6 heads and 12 hands, who sits on the peacock with his consorts Teivan Amman and Valli Amman. It is believed that Lord Kataragama is the younger son of Lord Shiva and goddess Parvati, and is considered as an important deity in the Indian subcontinent since ancient times, worshipped as Mahasen and Kumara in North India, and is predominantly worshipped in the state of Tamil Nadu and other parts of South India, Sri Lanka, Singapore and Malaysia.
Just as I mentioned before, this is a total transformation of the culture that we have been seeing so far. Till thus far, this Perhara was a celebration of candy and dancing. But now we see a touch of Indian traditions coming into this Sri Lankan festival. Can you comment on this?
Indeed, among the many different offerings that we have made towards Lord Kataragama, Kavadi dancing is renowned as one of the most predominant dances of devotion that is performed to impress the likings. Kavadi is in fact a Tamil word that translates burden in English language, and this dance ritual originates from the South Indian culture by the name of Kavadi Atam or burden dance.
Then this troupe of Kavadi is represented by the Kandurata Kavadi dance team.
Devotees believe that Lord Kataragama is impressed by the energy and Kavadi dancing, and is one of the key interpretations where these performers hold the hillocks, known as Kavadi or the physical burden, a semicircle shaped wooden prop with peacock feathers attached on it. and they dance to the fast tempo music in full energy, while at times the most authentic form of kavadi is performed without a simple practice of choreography, but instead a fast-paced and highly energetic dance. The religious city of Kataragama shall never experience an hour that does not tune this music, as most of the pilgrims who flock to the city of Kataragama consider performing a kavadi dance around the sacred site as a part of their venerated offering, as well as thinking and thanking their wishes that are granted by the Divine Lord. In fact, this offering has no barrier of age, gender, race, religion, or social economic class, as Lord Kataragama is undoubtedly venerated by all people, alike regardless of differentiation. In fact, any festival that is linked with Lord Kataragama shall never be complete without this energetic, bustling vibrance of kavadi.
We see another elephant of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devalia Perhara, and this is Parami, belonging to Mr. Samantha Vijayamanna of Madagoda. This dance we see here is quite another special dance in the cult of god Kataragama. This is the peacock dance, and the peacock dance will be represented by Mr. Damit Nairajit.
Indeed, the vibrance of the procession is multiplied by many ways, with the peacock dance coming into the picture. Sri Lankans identify the peacock as a unique creation of nature due to its distinct features of physical appearance, but the speciality of the peacock dance in this Perhara is beyond its attraction, as this dance depicts the beauty of the peacock as the godly vehicle of Lord Kataragama. The peacock is in fact depicted in traditional Sri Lankan upcountry dance in the Peacock Symphony, known as the Mayura Vannama, that uses the traditional upcountry dance movement to illustrate the charming beauty of the peacock. But this dance is rather a creative dance that is not connected with the Sri Lankan Mayura Vannama, but instead with much similar to the Mailatam dance that is rooted to the South Indian states of Kerala and Tamil Nadu.
I believe this next dance item is the Bhakti Kavadi dance performance that is represented by Mr. Deshan Nipuna of the Nipuna Ranga Atelier. I believe the difference of this particular dance item of Kavadi in comparison to the previous Kavadi dance performance we saw is the choreographed nature, where in the previous dance performance we didn't see any sort of choreography involved. But here we see a lot of choreography involving a lot of synchronized movements and stances.
Indeed, where the uniqueness of this variant is the concept that the hila is made under with purified practices and is lifted only after the offering to God with 120 peacock feathers attached to it, with the belief that even 100 people cannot lift the hila apart from the designated devotee.
This is the Kohoma Kalaya dance performance, And this team is represented by the Thrissur Dance Academy, represented by Ms. T.S. Kalyani of Elvitiya. Following the Pulmal dance performance, we are seeing two young elephants of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devalia Perhara. And it is indeed commendable to see so many elephants taking part in the Sri Maha Kataragama Devalia Perhara in the Randoli segments in the coming days. And speaking about these two elephants, we see the elephants Hesara and Hiruni belonging to Mr. Ajit Galagi of Kotte. Coming back to the traditional Sri Lankan Kandy and dancing, we are now seeing a Nayandi dance performance, represented this time by Mr. Pradeep Nishankar.
It is believed that Lord Kataragama is the divine force behind the ancient king Dutugamanu in his battle against the Chola invaders of the Dravidian king Elara. The present Ruhunu Maha Kataragama Devalia was in fact the commitment of the vow made by King Dutugamanu.
In fact, the elephant herd of Mr. Ajit Galagi of Kotte represents 4 elephants in this parade of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devalia, where in the previous duo of elephants we saw Hesara and Hiruni, and also representing his ownership, that was Sandali and Denuka. Next we see the pinnacle moment of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devalia Perhara, the arrival of the ceremonial elephant who will be carrying the godly ornaments of Lord Kataragama. And this evening, this trio of elephants will be led by the West Dancing Troupe, trained by Mr. Gayashan Malagammana.
And as mentioned earlier, the present Ruhunu Maha Kataragama Devalia was in fact the commitment that was vowed, which was made by King Dutugamuru, who built the Ruhunu Maha Kataragama Devalia and the Esala festival that commemorates the divine marriage between God Kataragama and Goddess Valli, and will commanded that this procession needs to be held annually regardless of any circumstances, still the eternal existence of the sun and the moon.
The upcountry Catabere is just about to be blended with the Tawil Bere of South Indian tradition, as we can see the Nadaswaram music ensemble leading the way for the requiraries of Lord Kataragama. We discussed many different reasons as to how the Perhara of the Kataragama Devalia is much different to the rest of the procession. And another such reason is this Nadaswaram music ensemble that we shall hear very shortly, that creates a South Indian music offering ahead of the ceremonial elephant who shall carry the godly ornaments of Lord Kataragama. The instruments occupied with the South Indian Mridangam, Chennai pipe, the Tawil drum, while playing music that are venerative songs towards Lord Kataragama. The cultural unity of our religious traditions is highlighted with pride as we hear the Buddhist patriotic song played by the Nadaswaram troupe. Followed by the Brahmanic Iyer, who is the chief priest of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devalia in Kandy. Let us welcome the ceremonial elephant Bibila, belonging to Mr. Udara Galapatti of Giriulla, who will be carrying the requiraries of Lord Kataragama in the first Randoli Perahera. The ceremonial elephant Bibila will be accompanied by the elephant Esala, belonging to Venerable Katugasthura Sarada Thero, the chief incumbent of the Pitisyala Senanayaka Mudalindarama temple, alongside with the elephant Aruna, belonging to Venerable Higgoda Chandima Thero, the chief incumbent of the Handala Rajamaha Vihare in Vattala. The next highlight of the Sri Maha Kataragama Esala Perahera is the arrival of the West dancers, who shall pave the way for the Basnayak Nilame of the Sri Maha Kataragama Esala Perahera, who shall walk with pride in this first Randoli Perahera.
The god of Kataragama is mostly represented as an iconography with 6 faces that symbolize of 6 of his divine powers or attributes. The first, which radiates light that dispels darkness. The second, the expressions of compassion and pity for human. The third, for the shows of goodness and gentleness towards the peaceful.
This is the arrival of the Honorable Basnayaka Nilame of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devalia in Kandy, Honorable Daminda Bandaru Duravana, who is the Basnayaka Nilame of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devalia in Kandy and the Paskamanatha Devalia in Hewahata. While that marks the end of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devala Perahera, let us welcome the final episode in this evening's first Randoli Perahera, which is the procession of the Sri Maha Pattini Devalia in Kandy. The first item in this evening's Perhara of the Sri Maha Pattini Devalia are the Buddhist flag bearers, represented by the Civil Defence Authority of Pallekele. Coming up next is the official Hevisi troupe of the Sri Maha Pattini Devalia, represented by the artists M.G. Palitani Shankar, M.G. Sitisena and M.G. Premadasa.
The tune of Hevisi is believed to be spiritually healing illness and creates immense satisfaction when being heard by a devoted person. Interestingly, many locals and foreign visitors find it very soothing to stay within the Dalada Maligawa premises and the Devalia premises during the daily offering or the Thevawa, as the entire surrounding of this temple of the Tooth Relic and the Satara Mahadevalaya gets filled with the symphonic sound of Hevisi, which dives deep into our blood and creates a patriotic feeling about ourselves, our religion, our culture and our tradition.
On the first elephant of the Sri Maha Pattini Devalia in Kandy, we see the Gajanayake and Dancers, the chieftain in charge of the elephants taking part in the Pattini Esala Perahera. The Gajanayake and Dancers is on the mount of the elephant Isuru, belonging to Venerable Urulavatte Sri Dhammarakita Thero, the chief incumbent of the historic Mahiyangana Rajamaha Viharaya. We are seeing the first female dance performance in the Sri Maha Pattini Esala Perahera, and in fact the first female dance performance that we will be seeing in the first Randoli Perahera. This is the female Nayandi dance performance, represented by Miss UPLK Suryagoda of the Ketumati Aesthetic Academy of Murutalawa, Kandy.
One may wonder if the elegant presentation of the Kandyan dancing is only biased towards the males, as we notice in the dances of West and Nayandi. This thought is certainly proved wrong with this dance act, which is in fact the same Nayandi dance we saw before, but this time a female representation that is choreographed in a way which suits the feminine atmosphere that is expected out of the female performer.
The theories of Kandyan dance classify such female dance presentations as Narinatu, which translates to dance acts which are specifically designed to suit the manner and order of females. The next dance performance is the Thalam dance trained by Mr. Aruna Pradeep of the Sri Lanka Nutrakala Janakala Mandalaya in Gampola, Kandy.
The Sri Mahapattini Devalia in Kandy is the only shrine of the Kandyan Sataramaha Devalayas that is dedicated to the virtuous goddess Pattini, who is also the only female representation among the guardian deities of the sacred tooth relic. This Devalaya is located in the premises of the Sri Dalada Maligawa, which can be easily reached via the Devavidya, and is separated from the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya from the ancient Atvidya, which was used to be the resting ground for the royal elephants. Being an Asian country with long-standing affiliation to Buddhism, ladies of our country are known to be and are traditionally expected to be modestly conservative in both walk and talk, especially with great female idols such as the Lady Vishaka, Princess Hemamala and Goddess Pattini herself, to whom Sri Lankan ladies look up to.
This is the elephant Podiraju, belonging to Mr. Chamila Bandaranayaka of Gannoruwa. Following Podiraju, we are now seeing the Kulu dance performance represented by Mr. Hemantha Sri Ratnakumara of the Suvirisi Soundarya Pasana. We spoke previously how Sri Lankan ladies are expected to be modest and conservative. Therefore, the same conservative nature is preserved in this particular choreography as well, to not limit females to take part in performing arts, unlike several other global cultures which prohibit women from such freedom, which Sri Lankan ladies and females should be really proud of. Pattini Esala Perahera in Kandy consists of many different female dance performances, as I noted before. And this particular dance act we see here is using a particular prop that is a part of the lifestyle of women in ancient rural villages in Sri Lanka since the past. And this is itself the beauty and the meaning of folk dancing, which is to depict the lifestyle of women in Asian countries. Not just women, but of people in village and rural setups.
Indeed.
This is the Roban dance performance that is trained by Miss B.G. Chamali Jayaratna of the Reka Aesthetic Academy of Yatihalagala.
The Rabana is at times recognized as a drum of phosphority, belonging to the Artha classification of traditional musical instruments. Both the Rabana, which are played only using bare hands, are used in the agricultural, entertainment and ritualistic activities in the village setup. Similarly, the Rabana is also taken a great dominance in the Sinhalese and Tamil New Year celebrations in Sri Lanka.
This is the elephant Ratna, belonging to Venerable Bengamuwe Dhammadinna Thero, the chief incumbent of the Pelmadulla Rajamaha Viharaya of Ratnapura. Following Ratna, we will now be seeing a Paturu dance performance that is trained by Mr. Nishantha Navaranga of the Nishantha Navaranga Aesthetic Academy of Galneva.
Speaking of folk dances in Sri Lanka, we are able to notice that the several notable characteristics such as simplicity, the group, the collaborations, the use of prop, and the enjoyment with the recital of poems is in fact the building blocks of the rural flock dancing implies that the social connection between the villagers where the dancing acts to include the several episodes of interactions among them.
This is the sovereign dance performance of the Sri Mahapattini Devalia, trained by Miss Nilka Gajanayake of the Nilka Aesthetic Academy of Murutalawa in Kandy.
According to the legends of goddess Pattini, the cult of goddess Pattini narrates many amusing stories, which are all part of the legend of this great goddess. One of the most interesting out of such legend is her birth story, which is popularly as Sat Pattini, where it reveals the 7 different ways in which she has been born, which include the stories of goddess Pattini, in which she had been born, which include the stories as out of a mango, a dewdrop, cobra tear, Demeter flower, shawl, fire and lightning. The cult of Sat Pattini is also challenged with a different variant which illustrates 12 births known as Dolos Pattini Upata. This is the second elephant that is presented to the Sri Mahapattini Devalia by Venerable Dipengamwe Dhammadina Thero, the chief incumbent of the Pelmadul Rajamaha Vihara, and this is the elephant Chula. Following Chula, we are now seeing the female version of the Panteu dance performance, and I believe all 5 segments of the Perhara which we witnessed so far included the Panteu dance performance. And the slight variation we can see in this procession of goddess Pattini is that this is the female representation of the Pattini of the Panteu dance performance.
And there's an interesting story behind the Panteu, the instrument used for this dance performance, and the cult of goddess Pattini.
We spoke about the several origins of the Panteu, and one of the most popularly amused legends is that the Panteu descends from the Ginisalamber or the anklets of goddess Pattini. The cult of goddess Pattini is highly associated with the anklets, which is recognized as one of her unique symbols, where her illustrations show goddess Pattini holding two anklets in her hands, along with a shawl. The poems written for Panteu dance performance 2 indicates the connection between goddess Pattini, which provides enough evidence for the affiliation between the Panteu and goddess Pattini in fact.
This is the elephant Maniki belonging to Mrs. Shriyani Gunawardana of Dangovita. As we approach the end of this evening's Perhara, let us finally welcome the ceremonial elephants carrying the requelaries of goddess Pattini. And this troop of elephants are being welcomed by the West Dancers, represented by the artist Mithun Bandara of the Mithun Bandara Aesthetic Academy of Watapulua in Kandy.
As stated before, goddess Pattini is much more popular among Sri Lankans due to her power in curing diseases among women and small children. This is the same reason why many Sri Lankans of low country healing rituals include the Gam Maduwa, Devol Maduwa and Pahan Maduwa, having accepted its deity as goddess Pattini. The popularity of these ceremonies can only be agreed by an eyewitness, where thousands of devotees spend an entire sleepless night in the ritualistic grounds to experience and worship the miraculous power of healing.
Following the chief priest of the Sri Mahapattini Devalia, we are seeing the ceremonial elephant Mangala belonging to Mr. Udara Galapatti of Giriyula, carrying the requelaries of Lord Pattini as usual. Mangala is accompanied by his fiancée Kanchana, also belonging to Mr. Udara Galapatti, alongside with the elephant Sita belonging to Mrs. Nilanthi Veerasinghe of Meerigama. This will be the final dance performance that we shall be seeing in the Perhara. The West Dancers who shall welcome the Basnayaka Nilame of the Sri Mahapattini Devalia in Kandy. And these West Dancers are trained by Mr. Chandana Chayaratna of the Chandana Aesthetic Academy of Matale.
A unique attribute that we saw across this first Randoli Perahera is that all these performers and elephants who took part in the Perahera is being prudent in three virtuous qualities: being faithful to the task, being disciplined in what they do, and of course, being skilled in the practice of what they do as well. Such virtues accumulate to ignite the devotion bestowed upon this Perahera.
As mentioned before, the role of these West dancers is to welcome the Honorable Basnayak Nilame of the Sri Mahapattini Devalia. And this evening, the Basnayak Nilame of the Sri Mahapattini Devalia in Kandy, Honorable Hemantha Bandara Herath, who is also the Basnayak Nilame of the Hanguranketa Pattini Devalia, shall walk in great majesty in the first Randoli Perahera. It is the custom that the four palanquins, which are called Randoli in Sinhalese, are being carried right at the end of the procession during the 5 nights of Randoli. The four palanquins represent the Queen's identity in the Perhara and in fact represent the Devalayas of Natha, Vishnu, Kataragama and Pattini. The palanquin, which is also known as the Randolier, is a special courier that was used to commute the Queen in ancient times.
And that marks the